Yeah, very warm welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. A gentleman knocked on the door about 10-15 minutes ago and he dumped off this 1950s Invicta, tiny little sort of second set. It's in a poorly old state, it really is. The glass is broken, you know, it's not just, it's smashed in 3 places. The feet are all gone funny. It's had additions stuck to the side, and he was literally going to take it to the recycling centre and dump it. But he offered it to me. He said, would I like it for spares, etc., rather than it just getting crunched up in a cruncher. So I said, do you know what? Thank you very much. I'm going to take it. So here it is. I'm going to pop it on the bench, and I'm not going to do too much with it because it probably will end up getting used for spares because it's the cabinet is, you know, in a really bad state. But I'm going to get a plug on it. I'm going to stick it on the bench, and we'll see what it does or doesn't do. So there's the radio on the bench. As I said, it's probably going to get parted out. I'm not going to do much with it apart from strip it for bits. It's one of those sets that's, you know, we've got so few stations left on medium wave in the UK. There's not much really worth listening to anymore, apart from Radio Caroline, of course, which is still going strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it for parts. But first off, it always seems a shame that this poor old set, you know, is now going to get broken up for bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a plug on it, and we're going to see if we can at least get the old girl to sing one last time before we part of a bit. So I've got my tea. I'm going to get on with it. First thing I'm going to do, might seem really obvious, is just one, to take the back off, and two, before we apply any power to the old mains lead, just to make sure the other end is actually attached to something. We don't want it, if someone's just chopped it off and popped it back in or pushed it in. So let's give it a fighting chance of doing something when we turn it on to make sure the actual mains is connected. So, and obviously that there's nothing, you know, dangerous inside that shouldn't be there. So 4 screws to undo on here, nice and quick. This is a basic little wooden cabinet. It's their model number 14, and this is at a time when, you know, this is sort of early 50s, before the war, and sort of just after it. Unless you had very deep pockets, really, sort of, you had one radio in the house, and everyone used to sit round, and that was the radio people would listen to. It wasn't really till after the war when, you know, valves became miniaturized and cheaper. That's one thing war always does do, is, and unfortunately it's technology advances very quickly in war. So there was masses of sort of advances in technology with radar and other, you know, early computers and that sort of thing during the war. But it enabled valves to be made much smaller. If it's sort of pre-war valves, you know, sort of 40s valves, this sort of size, in comparison with the sort of ones we had after the war. So this is an early set, a set that uses the smaller 9-pin valves. And this would have been classed as a second set. It was designed for beside the bed, you know, or to have in the kitchen. So you could listen to the radio in the kitchen. It wouldn't have necessarily been the main set of the house. It probably would have been maybe a radiogram in the living room. And this would have been the set that, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith would have listened to the radio in the kitchen, or say maybe up in the bedroom. So you can see Invicta always used these lovely painted green chassis, and it's going to break my heart now, and I'm probably not going to do too much with this. But if any of you guys want to restore this, it's not hard to find me online. You can get our contact details, drop me a line, and if you want to cover the postage, you can grab this set and have a go yourself. I'm trying to see what's happened. There's holes in the side. I don't quite know what someone's done there. But it all looks, the mains lead, as I said, it's always worth checking. You see, look, what's happened here. The original mains lead has gone super crispy. It's rubber, and the insulation has just fallen off. You can see it's all bared here, and someone just stuck that in there to overcome that. For what I'm doing today, I'm just going to make sure, get my other specs on, yeah, that they're not touching or shorted. It's going to go through the lamp limiter anyway, so I'm not too worried. I'm going to chop this off. He says, where are they gone? There they are. Cut this end off. Strip chuck that in there. And the chances are, I mean, it's going to be full of wax condensers, wax capacitors, whatever you want to call them. Something of this period, providing the smoother's not, you know, gone belly up, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we get some noise out of it quite quickly. So you may be able to see now, it's closer on the bench, that you've got this, the dial glass is, you know, it's cracked at 1, 2, 3 places. It's been stuck together with sellotape, and this is incredibly sharp. I mean, I'm going across it, but if I was drumming my finger up, I definitely would cut it. Right, so the bared ends are going into the special little water names I got on the bench here for that. Push them in there like that. It is on a 250 volt tap. That's the on-off switch. So I've got the lamp limiters on, and on goes power. So I can see the light bulbs at the top there are starting to glow. So no power's getting through. So straight away we know that the set is actually connected and that the on-off switch works. So to give it a second to let it sort of come up slowly. It's got an internal frame aerial on this, so it doesn't require an external aerial. That's come apart. Let's just take that out. All that ends up landing inside. It's just a little spacing device that was used. I can hear hum, which leads me to suspect maybe that those smoothers have gone. Okay, back where we were. Sorry, the phone went. Power's on. I thought I can hear a hum, but I thought it was going to be, it may be the smoothers, but I think it's just a bit of this background or normal background hum. So currently at 188 volts. That's always a promising sign. So we know by hearing the crackle, we know there's HT. You know what? I reckon this is going to fire up. We're not going to be much to look at on this one. Be a nice little quick video. We'll give it a little bit more juice. It's quite happy when it's drawing. Where are we now? 220, 230 volts, and it's drawing 29 watts, which is pretty much bang on where it's expected to be. So let's get it on medium wave. Switches are a bit crunchy.
You know, maybe when the time's right, I would definitely consider following the path of sticky, and I know Pravinda, you said the same as well on a couple of occasions, but there's not been a significant moment, but
right, it's not the loudest, so we're at full volume there, and we're on now on full juice. So just as well.
Question, because I wonder why younger.
They are set from, I just think, sort of 1952, 1953, that sort of period, maybe a little bit later. Is working, you know, without, I've not done anything with it. I can still see the original wax capacitors and the stuff on the top there. It just astounds me, it really does. It doesn't need an external area, so it's got these frame aerials built in. They say it's really quiet. I mean, it's
great food available at the Gurdwara.
And it won't be long before the wax capacitors inside start to leak electronically, and you'll start getting distortion. I mean, the fact that it's really low on the input, it might need a good realignment. Someone might have been in there over the years, not a good old fiddle with it. It could be that this switch is really crappy. Long wave. Just about get radio 4, just about still on there. So yeah, what we're going to do, I suppose, that we'll just take the chassis out and we'll have a look underneath. So what I'm going to do is we'll take this out and I'll come back in a second. So I got the radio out on the chassis, on the bench, sorry, the chassis out on the bench, I should say. I'm just being very careful because this original wiring here is proper crunchy. And you can see that that's the live and neutral, they're almost shorted together. So I'm just going to part those with the screwdriver for a minute. It's not on at the second, but just to keep them apart, just while we're having a quick look. Obviously, if you're going to restore that, you'd need to replace the mains wire. I've got it through lamp limiters, so if the worst came to the worst and they did short together, all that would happen is my bank of light bulbs up there would glow brightly. The knob on the side has been glued at some point. It's not uncommon. They often seize up and get snapped off, so that's what's happened with that one. Just had to grind the end away just to get it to clear the box. You can now clearly see that broken dial glass in 3 bits, but it's all there, so you could repair it, you could stick it together and sort of paint it up from behind and make a reasonable job. What we're going to do, spin it over. It's got a lovely little Goodman's loudspeaker in it. And there we are underneath. You can see why, really, when you look at it, why it's working as well as it is. I just pop some light on the subject. This one here. That's a little better. A lot of the actual main, let me look at that. Yeah, we've got ceramic condensers in here. These sort of jobbies. A couple of Hunt's ones that need to go. Ceramic again. But the main smoothing capacitors, which was originally in a tin that sticks out the top of the chassis there, they've been replaced, and it just goes to show I mean, these are 1950s, 60s debilia. Is it 62 date code on there? So they've been replaced as well at some point. Yeah, so that has had a little bit of work over the years. There's a capacitor under there that we need doing. But it's a really nice little... And if someone wants to, say, take this off my hands for the price of the postage, drop a message in the comments and I'll get back to you. It'd be a nice little set for someone to start out with, because it's a really basic, super simple set. We know, because we've heard sound from it, that it's capable of working. The valves that are in there, albeit a little bit quiet on the front end, but I think that's just a matter of some of these capacitors will want replacing, and then having a good sort of go through and tune up. It's possible that someone's been through here and started fiddling with all these coils, plus the ones in the IF. You see the mains lead is here, that'll need replacing. But this would be a super simple little radio for someone to get going. Even if then, once they've done it, they loved it for a little while and then just sort of stripped it down for parts themselves. So what I'm going to do, if anyone wants this, drop a message in the comments. What's the date now? We're going to be the 1st of May tomorrow. I'll keep it for the month of May. By the end of May, it'll get parted out. But if you want it, just drop me a line. So there we are, she's back in her box, doing her thing. She's making noise again, as she was designed to do all those years ago. As I said, if you want this set, I'm going to do a little bit of a giveaway. Bearing in mind, don't think you're going to stick a plug on it, it's going to work when you get it. This is for restoration, and I'll reiterate, this is just for restoration. So if you're a TV, radio fanatic, interested in TV and radio, want to have a go at restoring a radio, this is the sort of set. It was a really nice little starter set, because there's probably a handful of components that will need replacing, and you'll have a really reliable set. And you can listen to a few stations while we've still got some on medium wave and long wave in the UK. So that's it for now. I'm going to say cheerio. I'm just going to leave a bit more of this in the background with BBC Radio 5 Live blaring out. It is what it is. It's the it's the early 1950s Invicta Model 14, and if you want to restore it, drop me a line.
I'm taking you on a journey with my musical loves and inspirations, celebrating women.